Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Javier Lopez, and this is Holding It Together Without Burning Out, a fantastic webinar that we put together here at the Geeks to help our colleagues who might be experiencing a little bit of burnout challenges. It happens, but my gosh, there are certain ways that we can go ahead and manage them. We've got ourselves just about an hour or so to get started, so let's go ahead and jump into the information as well. Um, yeah. Holding it together without burning out. So, first, some professional coaching practices and guidance specifically on medical issues. We have to include this disclaimer. As I mentioned, my name is Javier Lopez, and I'm also a certified coach with the International Coaching Federation. And this is part of my due diligence in supporting colleagues and others. It is not medical guidance. So, in fact, I will say that the strategies shared in this webinar are based upon coaching practices and not intended for professional medical or mental health care. I highly encourage you, if you are feeling some additional strains or concerns, to seek out some medical support as necessary and appropriate. Your value is very much known, it is appreciated, and we want to make sure that you are doing well. So a little bit about myself, this fun, fantastic, geeky little guy in front of you, Javier Lopez, MSA, PCC. I am an executive coach. I've been so for the past now 10 years, which is amazing. Time is just flying by. I am also an assistant professor of leadership and organizational management at Trinity Washington University. So combining my scholar practitioner model of training and development, education, adult learning, with a lot of coaching concepts. Super fun. This is amazing. I love being able to do all of this. I myself am also a retired federal executive. I spent more than 20 years in public service. Really enjoyed the opportunity to serve our nation, but also saw there was a great and wonderful world outside of government as well. The last thing I'll say about myself is that I am a self-described geek. Here's a fun picture that I took with some colleagues when I went to see the 20-sided tavern in Washington, D.C. That is a 20-sided die that I'm holding, a very large one. I am hopeful that one day I can get a very large die like that myself and just have it here in the house. That'd be amazing. And of course, I'm standing right next to a mimic, one of those funny monsters within Dungeons and Dragons that can shapeshift into almost just about anything, which is kind of fun. So, geekiness is here. I say all of that to bring us forward to the agenda. We're going to have a fun conversation today and a fun presentation talking about burnout and ways that we can help to manage it. It's important to have a little bit of levity as to how we go about managing the concerns that we're dealing with, as well as thinking through how we would like to live our lives. So, what does this mean for our presentation today? We're going to first go over some session goals, then talk about personal strategies for managing burnout, and then lastly, discuss some strategies for managing burnout with the support of others. It's an interesting thing to think that we would only be ourselves tackling burnout issues. It's really a community effort. The more we can support one another and move forward and change, I think that is going to be a wonderful thing for each of us. So let's describe exactly how we do that. The goals, then, essentially, this is what I would think if you were going to walk away from this webinar, from this session, from this time together with something that you can apply in your life. What does that goal look like? What will make this time valuable and worthwhile for you? So, the first is to recognize stressors and apply personal wellness strategies. So often, as individuals experience stress, experience burnout, they don't necessarily realize it. They may push it off or realize that it's something else or miscategorize it. But unfortunately, when we continue to do that, the symptoms continue to pile up on us. Another goal is for us to strengthen our resilience through connection as well as building our community. Take this information, apply it in your life, share it with others, create a network of support for yourself and for them. The more that we can strengthen our resilience, the better off that we're going to be. Lastly, the goal is for us to equip public servants to serve well and to say well. The greater impact that public servants have on others is just incredible. We have an opportunity to really influence the greater good in the world. But there's also a lot of stresses and burnout that come with that. So if we can learn how to serve well, while being well ourselves. That is a wonderful, wonderful objective. So with that, let's go ahead and start with a wellness check-in. For those of you that have access to and would like to provide some feedback and comments in the chat, please do so. I recognize some of you might be driving or multitasking or doing some other items. So if there is no response, not to worry. If you're watching this as a recording later on, thank you again so much for being here. Please take a moment if you'd like to pause the video and ponder some of these questions just to think about where you are at this time in evaluating your wellness check-in. The first question, pretty straightforward, is do you feel emotionally drained or exhausted even after a full night's sleep? Yes or no? Pretty straightforward. The second question, have you lost interest or motivation in activities that you once enjoyed or even found fulfilling? And the third question, do you find it difficult to concentrate or complete tasks that were once easy for you? If you said yes to two or more, you are experiencing some signs of burnout. These are some good indicators that you might be experiencing burnout. Feeling emotionally drained, lacking motivation, and inability to concentrate are all signals and signs of that. So with this information, let's go ahead and continue to move the ball forward. If there's any thoughts or questions that you want to add as we are moving along, please feel free to add that into the chat. Um, yeah, and we can go and chat it up and help make sure that you're getting everything that you need from this session. Before we get to the details about how to manage the burnout, let's go ahead and take a second to define what burnout actually is. This is a great illustration, I think, when it comes to defining burnout. This is from the World Health Organization. Notice the five different stages. The first is our honeymoon stage. We might see some experiences, some idea about what might be coming up for us as we experience some of the stressors or burnout, but we say, it's a new job, a new environment, a new position, what have you. This is just something, it's perfectly fine. Then the onset of stress begins to tick up just a little bit more. We feel some of the issues, some of the concerns. Again, we may brush them off and think, oh, well, I just need to get better at it. I need to perform a bit better. And then things are going to be easier for me. And fortunately, we may then progress to a chronic stress state. This is where we experience it frequently and it kind of ebbs and flows. To a certain degree, it's helpful to experience some stress. Heck, sometimes we even pay money to get stressed as well. We go to amusement parks. We like to play paintball or sports or other activities. We try to do puzzles or figure out what's going to happen in the next movie. That can cause a little bit of stress for us. And sometimes that's actually even fun. But when it becomes chronic and damaging for us, that is where we get towards our larger layer of burnout, true burnout specifically. And once we get to the point where it has happened so frequently, we are so immersed in it, we may not even recognize what is stressful and what is not stressful. It's spilling over from our family, our workplace, our personal lives into every facet of our lives. Once we get to habitual burnout, this is when we have some true medical issues and concerns. Now, we won't go into all of the details of what it means to physically and emotionally and mentally experience some of these burnout concerns. But if you have any of these symptoms, my goodness, the likelihood is that you're experiencing some bigger challenges as well. It affects your productivity, your morale, as well as your career longevity. And as much as I'd like to say that this is a wonderful concept from yours truly, it's actually well documented and well researched as well. So with that, what are some personal management strategies or strategies for managing this burnout? If you've gotten to the point where you feel like you got to pull out your hair and you're feeling so tired, so frustrated, that could be a problem. So here's some personal strategies to manage it. First, recognize when burnout is happening. Acknowledge that there is an impact happening in your life. Next, build some resilience and stress reduction techniques. Now, it's interesting because we can't necessarily entirely remove stress, But what we can do is to manage it, to reduce it, to use it as a good input in our lives. No matter what, we're human beings, we're going to experience a little bit of stress, but it's good for us to reduce it to an appropriate level for us. Next, create a personalized burnout prevention plan. If we know what's happening, we know the impact, and we're trying to build up some resilience, well, what is the best way that we can go about having a plan for ourselves to manage this sort of a burnout? From there, we can develop some coping techniques as well. Now, it's interesting because this is a difference between the amount of stress that we reduce and how we cope with the stress that we cannot reduce. It would be wonderful if we can just remove it. Say, if we were in that great television show Severance, where we just walk into the room, our brains are rewired, and we can just experience that work environment without having the stressors of the home coming into the workplace. Same thing when we leave, we don't want the stressors of that. But if you've seen the show, there are some issues and some challenges that come up with that as well. Lastly, it's important for us to establish some boundaries as well as prioritize care, and that is important for us. So let's break these down. What does this mean? It's nice for me just to kind of ramble them and say, oh, well, all you got to do to manage stress is to do these 5 things, and you're perfectly fine. It takes a little bit of self work and some support as well. So, the first one, recognizing that burnout happens and also acknowledging its impact in our lives. The first is for us to monitor emotional and physical signs. This might be feelings of exhaustion, irritability, detachment. One thing that I recommend is that colleagues and clients take note of what they are feeling, a daily journal, a way of kind of managing it. And that is where we begin to track the application of these issues. Here's how frequently I'm feeling exhausted, I'm feeling irritable, I'm feeling a sense of detachment. We can monitor some of that. Then look at the tracks of change in performance that may occur. Are you finding it difficult to concentrate? Is there a decreased quality in the work that you were doing? Are you finding some of these items more challenging than they should be? It's not necessarily just a skill set that you need to grow or develop, but it could be the impact that you are having is not necessarily you need to change how you're doing the work, but maybe it's how you are managing the stress and the burnout factors instead. Lastly, reflect on your personal engagement. Look at your emotional investment in all of your activities. Do you feel like a lack of enthusiasm or an increasing amount of negativity towards people or tasks that you might be experiencing? And by the way, these signs aren't just in the workplace. These are on our personal lives, our emotional levels, and relationships that we have with others. If we are showing up in a way where we can't emotionally invest into that partnership that we have with others, that is a sign of some burnout. It might not be that the other person is to blame. It just might be what you are bringing to the context of the relationship. And it's great to recognize that because I've seen some clients and colleagues who unfortunately say, I need to change my job. I need to get into a new relationship. I need to have a vacation away from everything. The thought is that they are going to remove the stressors and feel better. But what happens is that the stressors are within themselves. They find themselves in a new job, in a new relationship, on a Disney cruise someplace in the Bahamas, and yet they are still stressed. That's because the stress happens within ourselves, and it's not necessarily only what is coming in from outside of ourselves. Next, please build resilient and stress reduction techniques. Also, we see a message here in the chat. Thank you so much for mentioning it. Do you think it to be helpful on our emotions, it would be a good idea to have emotional journals? Absolutely. That is a fantastic question. Emotional journals are very important. It's not just a way for us to capture, here's what I did today. I woke up, I did work, I went to sleep. Next day, I woke up, I did work, I went to sleep. But really, more of the bigger things. Ask yourself deeper questions. What am I grateful for? What am I finding experiences and joy in? Where are my frustrations? How is this showing up for me and how I pursue my work or my career? Then you can go back and see how often is this happening? Where is this being triggered? Is it a specific task or an individual? Then you know how to manage some of those stressors going forward. But if you're just going day by day, being overwhelmed, multitasking, doing different assignments, different work job requirements, etc., that could be a sign that maybe there's some things that need to change. So here's some fun thoughts on this one. The first is a psychological sigh. This is deep, intentional breathing to activate your body's relaxation response. This, again, also was well researched as well. I'll demonstrate this one here for you. So, the first thing is to take a deep breath, then breathe in a bit more and hold it, then slowly exhale. So, in through the mouth and out through the nose. What happens is we are resetting our neural pathways. They might be firing in a certain pattern, but when we do this a few times, it resets the pattern for us, breaking us from the stress routine that we might be caught up in. The next is emotional intelligence or EQ development. Practice your active listening. Focus on what other people are saying, understanding their emotions, and then, most importantly, evaluating your thoughts before responding thoughtfully. It's not just for us to respond quickly or to assume what the other person is trying to say or what their point is. Rather, it's understanding where they are and then recognizing where that comes up for you so that you don't respond in a way that's more challenging and difficult. Great example. If you've ever said something that you regret, odds are you needed to process it before you said it. Maybe you said it out of stress, anger, frustration, concern, hunger, which I am guilty of. Whenever I'm hungry, I get a little hangry. Yeah, I like my egg and cheese. They are amazing. And if I don't have them, oh my gosh, that could be something. The more that we practice this process, the easier it is for us to know that we are developing our skill set. Also, embrace a growth mindset. Encourage viewing challenges as opportunities. This could be a greater way for us to develop where we are and where we need to go. By the way, each of these items, I highly encourage you to hit pause at any point during the webinar if you're watching it afterwards and you want to go in and research some of these topics. There's plenty of materials out there on each of them. This is just an introductory to take you to that next step. It's a stop along your route of mental wellness and health. So, the next strategy is to create a personalized burnout prevention plan. Set realistic boundaries. Identify the limits that you have in your life. Maybe you don't have a number of hours to dedicate to soulful reflection, journaling, walking, eating well. Okay, well, what are some of the things that you can do? How can you grow to where you need to be from where you are? Do the best that you can until you know better. Then, when you know better, do better. One of my favorite quotations. I love that one. Practice self reflection. Do some check ins with yourselves to assess your emotional and physical well being. Maybe there's some challenges that you're experiencing from muscle spasms, from some issues about some soreness. Maybe you are a little bit more concerned because of what you're hearing in the news or in the workplace. That could lead to some problems. So, having a regular check in with yourself and just asking, honestly, how am I feeling? Why am I upset? Why am I happy? How can I manage what I'm feeling upset about? And what are the positive things that come from us feeling a little bit more of that joy? How can I get more of that? The more you practice self reflection, the better off you're going to be. It's like that concept, know thyself. And if you're a fan of the Matrix at all, like I am, and we are here at the GovGeeks, we know that that sign was in the Matrix as well when Neo was in the kitchen and it said, know thyself as a means of helping us to discover. I mean, if it's validated in the Matrix, it's absolutely credible, right? I mean, this is what we're talking about here. Develop a support system. Maintain strong habits with friends, families, or colleagues. What are the cultures that you can establish? What are the rituals that you can engage in? A culture could be like what I do is a culture of Dungeons and Dragons. I showed you the picture earlier on. That's one of the things that I enjoy very much. But also, what I enjoy more than that is just the collegiality, the camaraderie, the connection with friends and others about a shared story together that we can tell. That is a connection that helps me to establish a better system of wellness. For you, it could be any other subject. Are you interested in watching particular movies, television shows, going out, exercising, walking, running? All of these sorts of things you can do in partnership with others. Develop coping techniques. Here's where we're going to practice mindfulness and relaxation. Think about meditation, deep breathing, progressive relaxation. One of the things that I have, and I keep this here with me right by my desk, is a singing bowl. Now, I don't know how well the microphones are going to pick this up, but I'll give it just an idea here. Maybe you were able to hear it, maybe you weren't. But the actual frequency of these singing bowls is tied directly to health and wellness as well as recovery. So look into perhaps purchasing one of those. That could be helpful for you. Learn to reframe your negative thoughts. It's good to say, I recognize and I validate that this is a negative concern. This has arisen in me. And also to then say, rather than dwelling in the past and the issues, say how I can use this going forward. We can't get rid of negative thoughts, they just arise in our lives, but we can choose to manage them differently. This is where we think of cognitive reframing as a way of reducing stress and developing our ability to cope with difficult situations. No, your doctors, I'm sure, have said this 1,001 times. Engage in more physical activity. Play a sport. Go out for a walk, a slow jog. Or you can listen to all of the organizations that really want to charge you a monthly membership for your health plan. Go out there and do some physical work, lift weights, join some exercises or karate classes or something. The more that we do physical activity, the greater we have in our ability to increase resilience and manage or even improve our mood. Physical activity is one of those that is just time and time again found to be absolutely true. Establish boundaries and prioritize your own self care. Set clear limits on work and personal life. For instance, you can define specific hours or personal time to communicate the boundaries. Some of the items that come up for me as a coach is I get clients asking, well, do you have weekend hours? Do you have more evening hours? And as much as I want to say yes, and I want to support and I want to be of value, I know that I need to have my boundaries in place to be able to manage my wellness so that I can show up well enough for everyone during those hours. So, what are the ways that we can also set limits in our lives and our work? Schedule regular self care activities. Think about ways that we can nurture our physical, our emotional, our mental health. These might be non negotiable items that are really part of your routine. Is this reading, meditating, spending time with loved ones? One of the things that I enjoy deeply is every morning I get to wake up and make shakes for myself as well as for my wife, my fellow geek, the chic gov geek. She is wonderful, and we have a moment where we just connect. And the busy day and her needing to get out and leave to get to work, this is at least one way for us to connect with one another. A very important routine that is non negotiable in my eyes. Delegate tasks when they are actually possibly able to be delegated. Share your responsibilities, trust others, create the expectations and the shared outcome of what together you are working towards. There are plenty of things that I admit that I am good at, but there are plenty of things that I can also admit that I am terrible at. So, what about ways that I can partner with others to do some of the tasks that they can do better, and we can find some additional value and benefits from it? The more we can work through that, the easier it might be for all of us. So, hearing all of this, I feel it's like a bit of a shotgun blast of information. Do all of these things, read these books, go out and for a walk, and set your boundaries. You might be perceiving or receiving the information in this way because there's so much. But again, I encourage you to take some time, pause, reevaluate, check in, Do some additional research on some of these items. And of course, if you're interested in any one individual supporting you through that, look at some health and wellness opportunities as well. Do you need to perhaps meet with a therapist, a psychologist, or with a coach like someone from the Geeks to help support you as well? So here's some questions for the wellness check-in. And again, for those of you that are traveling or multitasking and have some challenges in responding on this, not to worry at all. The first question is, reflect on the strategies shared. Which ones do you believe will have the most positive impact on your stress levels? Please feel free to pop that in the chat if you'd like. If you're watching this afterwards, consider that in your mind. What is the one that really stood out for you? Next, consider that response. What steps can you take to implement it in your daily routine? This is an interesting thing. If you try it once and it's good and it's helpful, and then you establish a pattern of this, well, how can we make a repeated pattern of it? Is it a daily ritual? Is it something that you need to do once a week and then you feel better about it and you want to do it more frequently? Well, why not? So that brings us to this next concept, strategies for managing burnout with support from others. This is a picture of a great D&D illustration. And the reason why I'm including it is because others are available for you. It's not like you need to go it alone. There are parties of members like in Dungeons and Dragons who support one another. There might be a person that is going to heal others, another that's going to cast some spells, and another one that's going to be able to sneak around and open up doors and such, all working together to support one another. These are some of the strategies. So let's talk about this one. We've got, just as a time check, it's just about 30 minutes into the session. We're right on time. We finished up the first half, which is strategies for ourselves. And now let's look at strategies for managing burnout with support from others. So just as a quick time check, we're doing well. So leverage wellness resources and support systems. Nurture resilient relationships, the relationships that feed you, that support you, not the ones that take from you. Strengthen communication and seek support where necessary and helpful. Implement workload management techniques. And lastly, enhance fulfillment and motivation. The more that you can do this in partnership with others, the easier it is for them to show up for you and for you to show up for them. The rising tide raises all ships. The more that we can partner together, the more everyone values. So let's look at this. Leverage wellness resources and support systems, our first strategy. Engage in your employee assistance programs. As public servants, we may have access to a number of resources in the EAP that perhaps we're not necessarily taking advantage of. This might be confidential counseling, resources, or support services. The mental health benefits are really astounding in the EAPs. If you are unable to engage in these specifically, well, consider where else you can reach out to find professionals to be of value and support. Now, it's good to have conversations with your friends and colleagues and mentors, but do they necessarily have the right training in counseling or in mental health and wellness to support you? They could support by being there and helping you, of course. But when it comes to the actual training that a professional can provide, that might be a bit more valuable for you. Partner with partners to build activity approaches as well. Support your and your team's work arrangements. Have some open communication and collaboration. This, I believe, requires a little bit of vulnerability, both in yourself as well as for them. So if they are having a challenge, how well do they feel they can trust you to disclose, hey, I'm having this issue. I'd like your help. Can you please help me understand how? Or for you to say, honestly, I have tried this a bit of times and I need some help. Is this something that you can help with? That is very courageous and also very vulnerable. Sometimes we feel like, well, I have to have all of the answers. I'm the boss. Everyone comes to me for the answers. Therefore, I need to know everything and I can't be wrong. Or I'm the subject matter expert. My boss hired me to be able to do all of this stuff. If I tell them that I have troubles or I don't know how to do this, oh my gosh, they're going to think less of me. They're going to think, why did I hire that person? These are some of the issues and concerns to contend with in order for us to be vulnerable enough to manage some of the burnout concerns. Nurture peer support networks. I love this concept. Karen and I had called this one the Jedi Council earlier on. What is your support network? What is your group of individuals that you are there for them and they for you? You ask them questions, concerns, perhaps references for other items or referrals to different colleagues or professionals to be of value and support. Engage with colleagues who offer mutual encouragement. Share your experiences together. Provide emotional support. The more you feel that you are in it with others and less of you're in it all by yourself, the better you are going to be. Next, it's important to nurture your resilient relationships. Think about ways to partner to set boundaries in a high demand environment. This might be prioritizing tasks, maintaining a balance between personal and professional life. It's funny because there's this concept that I think we've all heard more than once, which is I need to have good work life balance. The idea that I'm going to invest 5 hours here and 5 hours at home, and then things are going to be perfectly balanced. Sometimes it doesn't work like that. You could have one item that is so stressful in the workplace or at home that it has large spillover effects as well. Instead of thinking of it as balance, one for the other, like, well, if I take two from here and I add three from there, I'm going to be okay. Think of it as work life integration. Are there ways that you know you need to show up for your work? Perhaps you need to answer emails afterwards. Perhaps you need to have a doctor's call when you're at work. Perhaps you need to invest in taking an extra amount of time for your lunch to get yourself in the right frame of mind following a bad meeting that you had or in preparation for a challenging conversation that you anticipate having. Give yourself the space to be an individual and a person at home as well as in the workplace. Engage and encourage group meetings or group mentoring, excuse me. Think about this as a way to have regular check ins or meetings with others. Um, for instance, if this is a peer mentoring network or a group, perhaps you could have content that you are reading in support of one another, a shared wellness book, a strategy, an activity, some points to reflection. Now, I would say it's important to say it's not just about going through and saying, all right, we got a complaint session. Who are we going to complain about today? It's good to get out some of that concern, but think more deeply about what is occurring within you as opposed to what exists outside of you. Because we can't control everything that happens around us. It might feel to let off some steam, it might feel good to say, oh, here's the challenges that I'm experiencing because of this person, this situation, this administration. But to what degree can we make those changes? We may be able to have some influence, but we can't necessarily just snap our fingers and have it done. Otherwise, think about how many problems would have been solved already if we could just go, it is resolved. So when you have your group mentoring conversations, think about ways of where items are showing up in ourselves and be of support to one another in managing through that. Celebrate success from colleagues. Share some of the specific strategies and practices that are used to cultivate supportive, collaborative environments. It's not so much where one person is going to succeed and therefore everyone else has to fail. Rather, it could be everyone is succeeding and we're helping one another to get there. It's not necessary to be jealous of where the other person is or frustrated or angry that they've gotten there, but rather for ourselves to think, that is awesome. They did that. I saw the hard work. They collaborated, they supported, they had some consistency, and they were able to make it. That's just proof that it could be possible for yourself as well. You may ask yourself, like, oh my gosh, I wonder how they did X, Y, and Z and then follow up with that as a question to partner with them. Oh my gosh, it's amazing that you did well on this test. Is there a way that you know how to strategize or to plan for some of these or to study? What's your secret? What can you learn from that sort of a conversation? Be helpful, be supportive, be encouraging for everyone. Next, strengthen communication and seek support. This is where we maintain open communication about workload concerns, seek mentorship, as well as engage in training for crisis management. But first, what does it mean to have open communication about workload concerns? Regularly to discuss workload expectations. It's interesting because there's always more work to be done. We are dealing with some challenges in government right now where we are overworked, understaffed, under resourced in a number of areas. So there's going to be a lot of work. But to what degree is it possible for any one person to do all of that work? What are the ways that we can manage it? So, if an individual manager or supervisor says, well, this person can handle all of that. Javier is a fantastic person. Let's go and give him all these assignments. I know he's going to be able to manage it okay. And what if I'm able to go above and beyond and I do that work? That above and beyond then becomes the standard. Then from there, all of that work becomes, well, what about just a little bit more? Oh, well, this thing came up and here's a priority and you should be able to manage it. You've been able to do all of this other stuff. Before you know it, when we've gone above and beyond and that becomes the norm for us, we might begin to experience more and more burnout concerns. And then, oh my gosh, what happens if we're doing something that is above and beyond and there's a problem with it because we're overworked or we're not capable of managing so many of the tasks? Then we get blamed for it? Oh my gosh, that could be even worse. So we don't want that. We need to be able to communicate some of our concerns and create the partnerships to prioritize, to strategize, to lead to the right success that we are looking for. That only happens if we have the communication about that workload to begin with. Now, there might be some concerns in how they show up for you in response or how they manage the concerns, but at least you have that opportunity to manage through that as opposed to not taking the advice at all and never having the conversation. You at least have an opportunity to address it. Seek mentorship and some professional guidance. Identify and approach mentors, mental health professionals, coaches for advice on managing stress and even career growth. Find the individuals in your life that can be helpful. Also, if you feel that your wellness is important, if you feel that your career, your family is important, well, how are you investing in being able to support the things that you care about? Unless you're investing in it by, well, I need these resources, these trainings, these capabilities, how can you be able to manage all of that stuff? It's interesting because we think, I went to school, I got this piece of paper, I graduated from this degree program, I got this other piece of paper. Now I know how to manage everything else. But how many of our classes were about managing conflict or managing interpersonal relationships or setting timelines and boundaries? Was that part of your degree plan? Was that something that was required for high school or for college or elementary school? Odds are not so much. I mean, we have reading, math, arithmetic, science. We have all of these things. But what about the other courses? Our learning doesn't end right when we finish an educational institution or program. It continues within ourselves. We can invest in ourselves by purchasing services and supplies to help us to really be the people that we would like to be. Engage in training for crisis management. And this is a very specific word, crisis management. This is where we learn to handle high pressure situations effectively. We may know how to do a task, but that doesn't necessarily mean we know how to handle that task in a high pressure situation. The context of the high pressure situation is where we are. It's not so much like, oh man, if I only knew how to do this faster, then I wouldn't be stressed about it. Maybe if you took your time doing it and knew how to manage stress, you would have just the same or even a better outcome. So it's not saying like, I need to build a better mousetrap. Maybe you need to understand the components of what a high pressure situation is and how to be able to manage it for yourself. Also, because this is a unique thing. For years, I worked with a preparedness and response organization, and I had numerous conversations with professionals who are working in high stakes situations. And it's interesting because they have learned to condition themselves with certain strategies, techniques, breathing exercises, ways of managing their workload because of where they're in. but that is a specialized area. It's not like the rest of us have to have that as part of what we continue to do for our training and our education. So the more we learn how to develop high pressure situation techniques and strategies, the easier it is for us to perform in high pressure situations and strategies as well. So yeah, we need to invest in the right areas for ourselves. Implement workload management techniques as well. This is where we can set realistic deadlines, manage expectations. For instance, maybe we need to break down a larger task into smaller ones that we can understand. At face value, we can say, oh, well, absolutely, this task needs to be done. Well, did we also take the moment to say, all right, well, what are the steps? How long is this going to take? Is this going to be a larger effort or a workload for me to manage this? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. The more we understand and break it into those steps, the easier it is for us to plan out what the actual activity should be. Also, by the way, this is important for us to manage expectations. So if the boss says, oh, here's this assignment, go out and do it, but they don't know or understand themselves the complexities of it. Or what if they are perceiving it from their perspective? I can do this in relatively a short amount of time, but that doesn't mean that other people can. And plus, do they have the right resources? Do they have the right colleagues that can support them? Do they have the right encouragement and directions and clear guidance that is provided? They might assume so, but unless we know for sure, how would we know if they can even do the work? So managing expectations and set realistic deadlines is a very important strategy. Develop an ability to delegate and set boundaries with colleagues. Communicate your boundaries to help avoid overburdening. And also, when you are partnering with others, know and understand what their boundaries are. If we just keep saying to a person, please do this and this and this and this, and they're not saying anything, there might be a thought that they can continue to consume more. We may be burning people out and not even realize it, while we ourselves are getting burned out as well. So, setting boundaries with ourselves and others is helpful. Leverage prioritization frameworks as well. Categorize tasks based on urgency, importance, and the ability to prioritize that. Here is a great example of how to do this. This is called the Eisenhower Matrix. It was developed after President Eisenhower had a couple of great ideas. So let's go ahead and walk through this idea. What is important? What is not important? What is urgent? And what is not urgent? When we look at these, we can determine, well, what box does this need to fall under? If it's urgent and it's important, that's something that we have to do immediately. If it's something that's not important, but it is urgent, well, let's go ahead and schedule this. Let's delegate it. Let's make sure that it gets done. If it's important that you do it, then that's the other box, the important one. If not, it's still something that's going to happen urgently by the individual that has the capabilities of managing it. If it's something that is important, but also not urgent, well, how can we schedule this? This is an issue, but it's not an issue for right now. Let's plan to do it. If it's not important and if it's not urgent, ask yourself really, is this something that I can eliminate? And that's even an additional question to ask in partnership with others. If they're coming to you with an assignment, with an issue, ask the importance of it, ask the urgency of it, and then honestly communicate and say, this isn't something that I can manage or schedule at the moment because of all of these other issues that we're dealing with. If it's important for us, let's go ahead and schedule this for a longer period from now. When can we recheck in? When can we support one another? And if it's a task that is just you feel that it's important or you feel that it's urgent, but in reality it's not, I'll give you an example. If you go to your email inbox right now and scroll to the very bottom, and if there's something that you've had for 3 months or more, honestly, it might not be urgent and it also might not be important. Ask yourself, really, is it? And if it is, move it up the list. If not, give yourself the space and the grace to be able to move on. Maybe it was at one point because there was a different plan, strategy, an assignment that you had to do. But if it's no longer there, it might be easier to eliminate it. Next, enhance fulfillment and your motivation. Reconnect with what your purpose is. Reflect on your core values and consider how they align with your professional goals. If you feel justice is important to me, fairness, equity, absolutely. How is that aligned with your professional goals? This is a fascinating concept because as people, and as I do coaching with individuals and through their career, their executive coaching and management for their activities, they may perceive that one thing is more important or another. And when we describe it a little bit more fully, their values come to the surface. And the things that they value more are the ones that they find more important, as well as something that connects with them more deeply. There's more fulfillment to that. The more you can get that fulfillment, the better off you're going to be. Find out what your values are and how they align to your work. By the way, if your values are clearly defined, but they are not aligned with your professional goals or where you are within your organization, that is saying something. Are you in the right position? Are you in the right organization? If not, it might be an important thing to consider changing. Reconnect with your civil service oath of office. Review the principles of the oath that you had taken. I have my water bottle here with me every day, and one of my favorite stickers is this one. We took the oath. This idea that we took an oath to the Constitution to support the work that we are doing, to be public servants. If you can reconnect with the why you have in your life for these organizations, that could be a strong reminder for you to stay connected with your passions and your commitment to our nation. Next, align career goals with personal values and well being. So, look at again your personal values that are important for you. What is your action plan that is going to help you to manage these while having a good work life balance or work life integration? What are the things that are truly important for you? I had a conversation with a client not too long ago, and we were talking about values. And he went through all of the things that were important for his life, his family, his exercise, his well being, his understanding of his connection to others. And then we asked the separate question, how is that something you are doing in your job? Then it got to be a lot more challenging because if we really value certain things, what are we doing in our life to pursue the things that are important for us? If we feel out of alignment, well, that might be one of the reasons why. So we're making some great progress right now. Let's do another wellness check in. Two more questions for you after we've heard all of those strategies and those ideas. Considering your unique stress triggers, and they can be many, which strategy resonates with you the most? Is it building that Jedi Council? Is it using the Eisenhower matrix or having conversations with others about boundaries? How can you tailor it to best support your well-being moving forward? Maybe you could say, well, I enjoy having conversations with my peer mentors. Maybe we are going to have a quarterly check in where we have the time to connect with each other and help one another. Oh, I love that. Thank you so much for that in the comment. Using the matrix makes the most sense for you or seems the best for you. Perfect. Yeah, I mean, ask yourself honestly and then show up well enough with others. Hey, this doesn't seem urgent and it doesn't seem quite important. Can we eliminate it for this month and recheck in next month? Or what is the value of us getting this? Should we move this up as a concern? Then we have a means of having a conversation. I'm so happy that the Eisenhower matrix could be helpful for you. So as we continue to move forward, it's important to think, well, what can we do next? What is possible? So I highly encourage you all to visit thegovgeeks.com to learn more about how to apply some of these strategies. We have a mental health and wellness package to support you as well. This is 4 1 hour coaching sessions where we sit down directly and have conversations about what's important for you, strategies to develop methods of bringing more of that into your life. In addition to that, you can also schedule a consultation. This is free of charge as well. It's easy enough just to select this one and book for a conversation, or even just to have the chance to chat a little bit more after this webinar or this conversation. Hopefully, this has been valuable for you. I definitely want to say thank you so much for your service. I appreciate your work, your efforts. If you're looking for more of the research that was provided in this presentation, please feel free to follow any of these resources. The building capacity by applying the Eisenhower matrix and the Journal of Environmental Health was especially helpful and important. There might be other tools and strategies that you can find valuable in that one as well. So I definitely encourage you to consider that one. Um, just to be better safe than sorry, we have ourselves just about 10 more minutes. Please feel free to put in any questions in the chat or if there's any items that I can answer for you. That'll give me an opportunity to take a sip of water as well. Well, I'm not seeing many questions in the chat, and that is fine. Hopefully, you reach out later on, and this is useful and valuable for you. Now, I have absolutely no authority to share this with you, but I will anyways. I hereby provide 59 minutes of authorized availability for you. For those of you that are, of course, in the federal government, you may realize that 59 minutes is the limit where a supervisor or manager or others could provide a person with a time off award without it necessarily being documented. So if it means anything, you can say, well, yeah, I got 59 minutes from this webinar that I had taken. It's right here on the video. You can watch it now. You get the 59 minutes too. Oh, sincerely. Thank you so much for the opportunity to connect. I appreciate this. We're going to post this on YouTube later on and share some additional content in our upcoming newsletters and also have a post about this on our website as well. So thank you very much for your service. I look forward to engaging you all soon. Take care.